Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
There are questions that live only in the mind, small, passing curiosities that fade with time. But there are other questions, the kind that echo through centuries, carried on the wind of history, whispered in the prayers of saints, carved into the hearts of those who search for meaning. And among them, one question stands above all others. Why did Jesus Christ have to die on the cross? To stand before the cross is to stand at the center of a great mystery. The wood is rough, the nails cold, the shadow long, and yet, for 2,000 years, this symbol of suffering has become a beacon of hope. How can something so brutal become something so holy? Imagine Jerusalem, 20 centuries ago. The air is thick with dust, pilgrims fill the narrow streets. Rumors spread like wildfire. A prophet has been arrested, a healer, a teacher, a man who speaks with authority from God. But beneath the noise, something deeper is unfolding, something ancient, something foretold. Long before Roman soldiers raised the cross on Golgotha, long before Jesus walked the dusty roads of Galilee, the story had already begun. In the shadows of the Old Testament, in the blood of the Lamb on Passover night, in the voice of the prophets who spoke of a servant who would suffer for many, everything pointed to a moment when heaven would descend into human suffering, and love would meet brutality face to face. And so we ask again, softly, reverently, like stepping into a sacred sanctuary, why must the innocent one die? Why must the Son of God be lifted high on a Roman cross? What mystery lies behind this moment that changed the world? The journey toward the answer begins here, with curiosity, with humility, and with a heart willing to be led into the depths of God's love. Picture the scene as if the camera of your mind slowly descends upon Jerusalem. The dawn is pale, almost hesitant, as though creation itself knows what this day will cost. Jesus has already been betrayed by a friend's kiss. He has stood before priests who feared him, before leaders who misunderstood him, before crowds who once praised him but now shout, "Crucify him." And the one who opened blind eyes now stands silent, like a lamb before its shearers. Roman soldiers lead him through the city streets, toward a hill called Golgotha, the place of the skull. The wood of the cross digs into his torn shoulders. Every step is a battle, every breath, a choice. To the people watching it looks like injustice, tragedy, a prophet crushed by the empire. But within the unseen realm, something far greater is unfolding. This is not an accident. This is not the end of a failed mission. This is the center of God's plan, an act of love written into eternity before the world began. Nails pierce his hands. A final blow drives the spike through his feet. The cross is lifted high, and for a moment, time seems to shudder. Below him, soldiers gamble for his garments. Religious leaders smirk with cold triumph. The sky grows dark, as if heaven itself veils its face. And then, above the noise, above the hatred, above the suffering, Jesus speaks words no dying man should be able to speak. Father, forgive them. Forgive the soldiers who harmed him. Forgive the leaders who condemned him. Forgive the world that turned away from him. Forgive even us. This is the heart of the story. The Son of God chooses to bear all the weight humanity cannot carry. Sin, shame, guilt, the wounds we hide deep inside. On that cross, he steps into the darkness so we might step into the light. The moment looks like defeat, yet heaven calls it victory. The world sees a dying man. God sees a door opening, a way back home for every lost soul. The story does not end here, but its meaning begins to unfurl like a banner of hope over all creation. If you pause the scene at the foot of the cross, just hold it still, you begin to understand something deeper than history, deeper than suffering, deeper even than sacrifice. The cross is not merely an event, it is a revelation. It reveals who God is, and who we are meant to become. For centuries, believers have asked, why did Jesus have to die? Couldn't God simply forgive? But forgiveness is not the same as ignoring wrongdoing. Real love does not pretend that brokenness doesn't exist, it heals it from within. Sin is not just a list of mistakes, it is a wound in the human heart, a separation between Creator and creation. And separation cannot be healed by distance. It can only be healed by someone stepping into the very place where the wound lives. So Jesus steps in. On the cross, he takes upon himself the full weight of human failure, not to crush us with guilt, but to free us from it. He becomes the bridge we could never build. He becomes the ransom we could never pay. He becomes the healing we could never give ourselves. And here lies the sacred mystery. The one who knew no sin became sin for us, so that we might become righteous, restored, renewed, reconnected. The cross reveals the depth of God's love, a love that does not stand at a distance, a love that enters our darkness, a love willing to pay the price himself. But the cross also speaks to the reality of our daily lives. Every time we feel unworthy, every time we fall, every time we wonder if God could still love us, the cross stands as a silent, powerful answer. Yes, you are loved beyond measure. And more than that, the cross invites us to a new way of living, a life where forgiveness is stronger than resentment, a life where humility conquers pride, a life where love chooses sacrifice rather than selfishness, a life where suffering is never meaningless, because our Savior has walked the road before us. The cross is not just a symbol to wear, it is a truth to live into, a reminder that redemption is real, healing is possible, and grace has the final word. In its shadow, we discover not only salvation, but identity, purpose, and hope. And now, as the story draws to its quiet, trembling close, we stand once more before the cross, not as spectators of an ancient tragedy, but as those invited into its living power. The hill of Golgotha is silent now. The crowds have gone home, the sky has cleared. Only the rough imprint of the cross remains, etched into the dust like a scar the earth itself will never forget. But the message of that cross, it has never stopped echoing, because the death of Jesus was not the end of a good teacher or the collapse of a noble dream. It was the beginning of a new creation, a doorway thrown open, a turning point in the story of humanity. When Jesus breathed his last, something in the universe shifted. The curtain in the temple, thick, heavy, ancient, was torn from top to bottom, not by human hands, but by the God who longed to say, "The distance between us is gone, you may come near." This is why the cross matters. This is why the story still lives. Because it is not only his sacrifice, it is our invitation. An invitation to lay down the burdens we've carried far too long, to surrender the guilt we hide like bruises under our skin, to trust that no darkness in us is too deep for his light. The cross whispers to every wandering heart, "You are not alone. You are not beyond redemption. You are worth the price I paid." And when we let that truth settle into us, when we dare to believe it, something begins to awaken, a courage, a gentleness, a new beginning. For the cross is not a monument to sorrow. It is a fountain of hope, a sign that love is stronger than sin, stronger than suffering, stronger than death itself. So as this story closes, let your heart stay open. Let the message travel with you into the quiet moments of your life, into the questions you whisper in the dark, the wounds you try to hide, the prayers you barely have words for. For the one who hung on the cross still speaks, still calls, still loves, and his invitation remains. Come, return, live in the freedom I have won for you. Let my sacrifice become your new life. This is why he died, not to condemn, but to restore, not to crush, but to lift, not to end the story, but to save it. And now, the cross stands before you, not as an artifact of the past, but as a doorway into grace. Step through it, and let the love of Christ lead you home.